morning and welcome to ET Now's The Newspaper Show with me, Varun Hiremat. For the next half an hour, we'll be walking you through all the important headlines from the Economic Times as well as the Times of India. But before we go any further, let me remind you the newspapers are completely safe. WantMyPaper.com is the website you need to go to if you want the newspaper delivered to your residence. I repeat again, WantMyPaper.com if you are interested in the newspaper. With that being said, let's now get a move on, and we have an action-packed Thursday morning for you. The top 10 headlines from the Economic Times, beginning with the fact that the centre state set to clash over GST compensation. SBI planning rival to National Payments Corporation. Gujarat tops export preparedness index. Maharashtra slashes stamp duty to boost realty. Ex-IOC chief joins RIL as group president. Will lend cautiously, says Axis Bank MD Amitabh Chaudhary. Indian market holds promise, says Fitbit. Viacom 18 and Sony India may ink a merger deal. BYJU gets 122 million from Yuri Milner's fund. And Choksi moves court against Netflix drama. So those are the top 10 headlines from the Economic Times. We're now going to bifurcate, as we usually do, market versus corporate. Market headlines beginning with the fact that HDFC Bank's mission, 2x market share in 5 years. MS says India likely to outperform EM peers. ARCs ask RBI to address IBC SARFAESI gaps. Kamath Panel seeks rating Cos Inputs. Two-wheeler stocks surge on FM's talk of lower GST rate. Let's now go over to corporate. Sterlite copper case, Vedanta moves Supreme Court. Mondelez plans to launch breakfast cereals. Vodafone Idea loses further ground in the June quarter. Ramping up production amid good demand, says M&M. And demand to be normal by October, says Motherson. The first story for this morning is from page 1 of the Economic Times, and it revolves around SBI, the State Bank of India, and particularly its ambitions with respect to payments. Now, what we're given to understand is that the State Bank of India is planning to set up its own entity to rival National Payments Corporation of India and enter the country's highly competitive yet fastest growing digital payments ecosystem as a primary stakeholder. So as if SBI didn't have enough stake in the financial system, they have banks, they have insurance companies, they have a credit card company, they have an AMC, they have mutual funds. Why should they not have their own payments entity as well? And it seems that that's what's on the anvil, and it's something that should keep SBI in focus, apart from the fact that those brokerage upgrades have just been pouring in over the last week. With that being said, let's now move on. And our next story, again, is from page 1 of the Economic Times. And the centre and state, it seems, are likely to clash over the GST compensation. States are likely to push the centre to borrow from the market and suggest that the compensation cess is levied on more products to raise funds. However, my colleague Ruchi, who tracks these developments closely, is going to walk us through the finer details. Over to you, Ruchi.
The battle lines are drawn ahead of the GST Council meeting, and you had all the opposition leaders coming together on the issue of compensation fund shortfall, with the Kerala Finance Minister tweeting about it, and you had the West Bengal Finance Minister Amit Mitra penning a letter to Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman saying that the state's worst fears have come true. Remember, the centre had assured states of a 14% GST compensation when the goods and services tax was implemented. However, on account of the slowdown in economic activity as well as the COVID-induced slowdown that have impacted the centre's revenues and thereby the compensation kitty as well. And which is why in the meeting that will be held today, remember there will be critical issues on whether the GST Council can borrow from the market. Given the fact that the GST Council does not really have a backing, it will have to be either states or the centre that will have to borrow. Remember, the Attorney General had opined that the GST Council has to make good any kind of shortfall in the GST compensation kitty. Various states have already said, states like Punjab, Kerala as well as Bihar and even other states like West Bengal have already said that the liability for extra borrowing should not be put on the states. This is going to increase their debt servicing liability and lead to a cut in expenditure during these critical times of COVID-19 as well. But will the centre be okay with the idea of borrowing for the central borrowing for the GST compensation shortfall is something that we will have to wait and watch out for. The other options on the table is increasing the cess on the sin goods like tobacco. The third option on the table is whether the basket of goods that currently attract the cess can be increased, which of course could be counterproductive. States may not agree to it. The fourth option on the table is whether the centre will agree to this is something that we will have to wait and watch out for, is whether some of the cesses that currently the centre takes, which are not devolved under the goods and services tax, if they can be moved into the compensation kitty. As I said, various options are on the table and the battle lines are already drawn ahead of the next GST Council meeting.
Okay, thanks for that, Ruchi. And, you know, about the same GST meet, 7 opposition CMs have decided to turn the GST Council meet into a stormy event of protest against the non-payment of GST dues to the states. We have comments from numerous people, Amrinder Singh, Mamta Banerjee and Bhupesh Bagal. Let's listen in.
Now, if we are not going to get compensation and we are not going to get our GST, and as of now, the situation is this, that my own state is down, my own revenues are down in GST by 38%, VAT minus 31%, state excise just 1% positive, taxes on vehicles minus 63%, this is compared to last year, and stamps and registration minus 41%, electricity duty 25%. This year, financial year, will be ending with something like 25,000 crore deficit. And I think all of us should collectively go and see the Prime Minister and go and tell him what we think of what the situation is like. And after all, he's the Prime Minister of the state. He has to give us. We've given all the powers of taxation to him through the GST. If all our taxes, which we used to collect, are now to be collected by him, and now they're saying that they may not be able to pay it. They don't have any commitment to give it to us. Then how do our states run?
हम लोग ने प्रोग्राम हमको लेना जरूरी है कि किसी को भी स्टेट में कोई प्रॉब्लम होता है, दिक्कत होता है, कोई भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी को, एक क्या करता है, पूरा चीज को डाइवर्ट करके सबको अलग अलग करके रख देता है. बट वी मस्ट रेज आवर वन वॉइस. नहीं तो देश में क्या होगा, और कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी रहेगा ही नहीं.
जहाँ तक कि जीएसटी का मामला है, हम लोग उत्पादक राज्य हैं और इस कारण से 2022 तक हम लोगों को कंपनसेशन देने की बात कही गई थी, लेकिन पिछले 4 महीने से किसी भी राज्य को कंपनसेशन की कोई एक पैसा भी केंद्र सरकार ने नहीं दिया है, जबकि आवश्यकता अभी जो स्थिति है 2022 से बढ़ा के बल्कि 2027 तक ही किया जाना चाहिए. इस प्रकार का प्रस्ताव जो उत्पादक राज्य हैं वहां से होना चाहिए. मैं इस मत का हूं. अभी हम लोगों को जो पैसा मिलना था 2828 करोड़ वो नहीं मिला है और इसके कारण से जो स्थिति है वो भयावह होती जा रही है.
Okay, that was quite an interesting selection of bites from some of the nation's CMs. But let's switch gears now into a different sphere altogether. Viacom 18 and Sony India are likely to ink a merger deal very soon. As per the Economic Times reports, all the three parties have in principle agreed for a merger of the entire entertainment portfolio. As per the management, or arrangement rather, SPN will be the majority shareholder of the combined business. But Avan Dabash is now with us to walk us through the finer details. Good morning, Avan. Could you tell us what this story is all about?
Sure, Varun. Morning. So basically, there has been, multiple attempts, in fact, that have taken place prior for this merger to take place, but there have been two failed attempts. So now we understand that Sony Pictures, Viacom 18, the JV between Reliance Industries, the own Network 18, and Viacom is now back on the table. So according to sources, the three parties have agreed for a merger of the entertainment portfolio. And as per that arrangement, SPN, or Sony Picture Networks, is going to be the majority shareholder. Negotiations are on, and an agreement, according to sources, could be signed as early as next week. In fact, the parties are currently working on the deal over the last 15 days, and there have been multiple calls regarding the same for a non-cash merger of operations with Sony Pictures keeping that majority stake. So we understand, as per sources, that Sony could get 51 to 55% stake, with remaining equity being shared between Network 18 and Viacom. Mike Hopkins, who had been the then chairman of Sony Television, was driving the negotiations earlier, but they didn't fructify because there have been multiple disagreements when it comes to the valuations as well. And, after his exit, the focus has shifted away from the merger. And now that things have really settled, they're now back on the table yet again. We understand that all three businesses, Sony, Viacom, and Jio Studios, are going to be merged into a single entity, and they will have close to 10,000 crores in revenues with an employee count of close to 2,700 crores. Media experts are saying that this consolidation is going to help both the companies to strengthen their position in this entertainment business, which is, rapidly transforming, and there's so much disruption. And while both the players are declining to comment, or the three players are declining to comment, that's the news that we're picking up.
Thanks for that, Avan. Definitely looks like an entertainment behemoth is in the offing. But stay on with us because we have one more story we need you to walk us through. PVR is set to launch its first drive-in theatre in Mumbai, while Carnival Cinemas are in talks with land developers in Mumbai, Bangalore and Kochi to start outdoor screens in the next 2 months. So what's happening here, and who do you think is really leading the race, PVR or Carnival?
Well, PVR has been in talks about this previously, and we had heard that this was something that they were exploring. A lot of these multiplex players were looking at, really diversifying their operations with outdoor cinemas. And they agreed that the concept of a drive-in cinema is going to be quite a novelty as well. So while it won't be their core operations, this is something that the multiplex owners had, in fact, looked at. So PVR apparently is already in talks with, setting up a drive-in cinema in BKC at the Geo Center. And you had Ajay Bijli as well, who said just a couple of days ago had a cassette on record that, this is something that they would look at in order to diversify their overall base, because the COVID impact has really hurt the sector, the movie business, quite terribly. We also understand that Carnival Cinemas, even INOX, they're all eyeing the drive-in theatre experience in states like Delhi, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, as well as Andhra Pradesh. And the management of Carnival Cinemas has said that alternative forms of entertainment are definitely necessary. We understand that they have already identified 3 locations in Bangalore, Mumbai, and Kochi, and they're now looking for more for drive-in theatres. You also had Ajay Bijli, as I said, saying that this BKC drive-in theatre has been planned out. It's not a knee-jerk reaction because the efficacy of the drive-in business model, that is yet to be tested in India. So given the fact that it's really impacted the sector as a whole, this is definitely being looked at very closely by these 2 leading players.
Okay, amazing. Thanks for that, Avan. I guess especially during COVID, where we don't want to be sharing a really full-up cinema hall with people, drive-in movie theater might just be the go-to where people can feel safe and secure, you know, that they're not going to contract anything. But thanks for getting us that very interesting update, or two updates rather, Avan. Great to get perspective from you. With that being said, let's get a move on. Page 6 of the Economic Times. Facebook is planning to launch Facebook News in multiple countries within the next 6 months to a year. It is considering India and other markets such as the UK, Germany, France and Brazil for this launch. Facebook referred to the new products as a personalized destination for news within the platform, with users getting top headlines and stories for the day based on their interests. So if you've used this app called Flipboard, which kind of funnels news to you based on what you say your interests are, seems that the Facebook platform for news might also be able to figure out what you're interested in, and this should be launching in 6 countries soon. So clearly a lot of people watching the news, and Facebook trying to get in on that as well. Let's now move forward. Yet again, we have another story to cover, and this one's on page 3 of this morning's Economic Times. You know, in the meanwhile, what we're learning is that the Maharashtra government will be reducing stamp duty on flats from 5% to 2% till December 2020. So this is likely to keep some realty stocks in focus, but Neha Tyagi is joining in with more details on that.
Good news coming in for the real estate sector. The Maharashtra government has decided to slash stamp duty on real estate in Maharashtra. As per the new notification, the stamp duty, which is currently at 5%, will come down to 2% starting September till December 31st, 2020. Thereafter, starting January 1st till March 31st, 2021, the stamp duty will be brought down to 3% from 5%. This is something that the real estate industry bodies, CREDA and REDCO, have been asking the government for a while now. The industry has been going through stress for a long time. Add to that the damage caused by the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. If you remember, the Maharashtra government had reduced stamp duty by 1% in March 2020 as part of its maiden budget. So this news definitely comes as a cheer for the real estate industry, which is ridden with a lot of unsold inventory. So they will be able to hopefully move this unsold inventory out. This news also comes at an opportune time. The festive season, as we know, has started. This is a time when a lot of home buyers, buy their first homes or decide to invest in properties. So this move could definitely help real estate players sort of make those sales during this festive season. As far as the damage caused to the state government is concerned, we understand that the stamp duty is one of the largest contributors to the government's revenue after GST, sales tax and VAT. As per reports, in FY20, the state earned rupees 29,500 crore through stamp duty. So we will have to wait and watch what kind of impact this reduction in stamp duty will cause for the government. But at this point in time, it is definitely a good news for the battered real estate sector.
Okay, thanks for that, Neha. Very important development here in Maharashtra with respect to real estate. Stocks like Oberoi Realty, Godrej Properties, even an L&T Finance could possibly be triggered off by this, so keep an eye on those this morning. Let's now go forward. RIL in focus, ET Markets page. That's the Economic Times page 9 of this morning. And Sanjeev Singh, who's the former chairman of the Indian Oil Corporation, has joined Reliance Industries as group president and member of the oil to chemicals business leadership team. Sources have told this to ET now. Singh, who superannuated from the services of IOCL on 30th June, will lead and drive the group's manufacturing services. My colleague Priyanka joins in with more.
Whereas Reliance Industries has made the announcement of the appointment of Sanjeev Singh as the group president of their oils to chemical business. Sanjeev Singh, who was the former chairman of Indian Oil Corporation Limited, has superannuated from the post of the chairman of IOC just recently on 30th of June, and now he will be taking over this post as group president at RIL. Now, what we understand from sources is that this announcement was made in an internal email to employees by Hital Meswani, who is the executive director of the organization. And the mail also says that he will be taking over this role in a phased manner over the next 3 to 4 months. What we are also understanding from sources is that September 1st is when Sanjeev Singh will come in as the president, and then over the next few months he will be completely taking over this role and being a part of the company. The announcement also says that Sanjeev will lead and drive the group manufacturing services organization, which is the backbone of our oils to chemical business. This is coming definitely at a time when RIL has also announced that they will be hiving off the O2C business as a separate business, and this will happen over the next few months. And they will also be approaching NCLT for the same. So as of now, Sanjeev Singh has been appointed as the group president, and this announcement has been made in an internal email to employees.
Okay, thanks for that, Priyanka, and quite an interesting development at that. Let's now switch gears back to banking. Economic Times, page 9, that's the markets page. HDFC Bank's CEO designate Sashidhar Jagdishan has set a target of doubling the bank's market share in the next 5 years, harnessing digital technology and pulling business away from state-run banks. So, this is something that there was a call about from Macquarie fairly recently, where they put out a lot of information, not just regarding the lines that I just said, but also reassuring investors that HDFC Bank's asset quality would be best in class with low moratorium figures and a very solid diversified loan book. They don't really see the gross NPAs inching up to even where they were in the times of the global financial crisis, which is 2%. Today they stand at 1.36%. So there's not going to be much expansion there. So this was a really bullish call. The stock definitely reacted to it. It went up 3% the day that this note came out. So keep your eyes on HDFC Bank. I think Nam was supposed to give us some final details on this story, but I don't think she's been able to join in this morning. So I'm just going to leave it at that. These notes are available online if you're interested in having a read. Let's now move forward, and we're nearly running out of time here on the newspaper show this morning, so I'll just quickly get you the top 5 headlines from the Times of India. Beginning with the fact that 7 OPP NCMs want NEET and G put off. Maharashtra is number 2 in the NEETI Export Index. India's COVID count has risen by a record 76,000 cases. The Supreme Court wraps government over loan interest waiver. And in the Sushant case, NCD files case against Riya Chakraborty. So these were the top 5 headlines.